Hello, everyone, and welcome back into another episode of Conversations with Chris and Cameron. It's episode 38, and we will have two episodes today on this Friday. Of course, we uploaded our basketball podcast earlier today, where we were, talking about the Kentucky versus UNC game, previewing Gonzaga, and now we're going to be talking about Kentucky football with Will Stein having his introductory press conference, and then, of course, the players he signed for the class of 2026, and also the coaches he has on the staff currently. But how are you doing, Cameron?
I'm doing well. That press conference had me ready to run through a wall, so I'm a little
Yeah.
bit motivated, I guess would be a good term for talking about Kentucky football, and then just fired up about the Kentucky program.
Yeah, hey, we can't use the word motivated anymore after Mark Stoops left. For Ben and
Yeah,
Way.
yeah. No, that's his trademark word right there.
Yeah, for sure. But let's get into the podcast. So, of course, Will Stein, he had his introductory press conference on Wednesday, and he had so many fans excited for him. He had all the correct answers. He had the whole fan base pumped. Of course, it wasn't nearly as big as, Mark Pope's introductory press conference, but it was still exciting to see that a lot of people showed up for Will Stein's press conference. And I feel like he's going to be a great head coach for Kentucky, and he's going to bring a huge offense where, we're going to be averaging like 300 yards per game, 400 yards per game, hopefully, and then along with like 300 passing yards per game, because you really never saw that under Mark Stoops at all.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be a blast with him here. I mean the offense, whether it's running or passing, he's been able to succeed doing either, and kind of coaching to what his personnel has for him. But I mean his press conference was electric. It was awesome. They had the fireworks and everything when he was coming out. There was a lot of people that showed up, like you mentioned. And I mean it looked awesome. Like I
Yeah.
wish I could have been able to make it there, but yeah, it looked awesome. It was everybody there. Everybody was tuned in, asking really good questions. I loved Dylan Ballard's question. I'm not going to dive too deep into the questions, everything right now, but like he asked him, when you showed up, you were wearing Jordans. Now, what's the shoe collection like? That was his first question. So I was like, all right, this is awesome. We get to hear.
Yeah.
And he talked a little bit about how he was wearing boots because he's back in farm country and back home and everything. But he collects Jordans and stuff now. So I thought the entire event was a
Yeah.
success. I mean, there was
Yeah.
there was really no bad takeaways. That I guess the only one is that he's maybe the most confident guy that we have in the program and in all the facilities, but that's a good thing. So overall, it was awesome though.
Yeah, it was definitely awesome, man. Even before his introductory press conference, he met with the team, and UK football released just a little video, and everybody was like, "We want the full clip or a full video of him talking to the team and everything." But I posted on Twitter because they didn't post it on Twitter; they posted on Instagram, which I was confused by that. But he said, "I am so passionate about this game, about coaching, about this university. This is a dream freaking come true to me." And whenever I saw that video, I was ready to run through that wall. And then, of course, later, it was either later that day or the next day, he was at the UK versus UNC game and he did the Y. Of course, UK didn't win that game, but it was still great to see, him do the Y and get the crowd all pumped up and everything for that game.
Yeah, no doubt. No, it was funny that whenever at his press conference, which was the next day after the North Carolina game and everything, he had said that like they'd asked him what it was like doing the Y and everything. And at first he was like, "Why am I the Y? Why the heck am I getting this? Tayshaun Prince is here. Why is he not the Y?" Later on, he ends up getting it, but it was funny. He said that he blacked out while he was doing it. He's like, "I don't really
Yeah.
remember. I just know I fist bumped and I was excited." But he's definitely one of us because that's what one of us would have done if we were in that role. We would black out. But yeah, it was really cool just to see him sitting in the craft seats courtside, seeing him stand up, cheering a few times at that Carolina game. So
Mhm.
sadly, the Cats didn't get the win, but it was a great night overall.
Yeah, great night overall. And real quick, I just want to talk about the coaching staff. So far, he's added the UFL director of recruiting, Pete Nocta. He's expected to join the Kentucky staff, and I feel like that's a big blow for Louisville. They won't be recruiting as nearly as great. Who knows? Maybe they move Vince Merrill into that role now instead at Louisville. But it'll be interesting to see how much better UK's recruitment will be with adding Pete Nocta to the staff as well.
Yeah, I am excited to see what it looks like for us. But I know a lot of a lot of their fans were like already not freaking out, but they definitely weren't happy about the move because he's great at his job, but also he's going to the rival. But did you see what Vince said today?
Yeah, he said like good luck with the recruiting in Kentucky and Ohio in the future. Like we have it, basically something like that.
Yeah, he said, "Good luck recruiting Ohio and Kentucky. I love recruiting all states, for we have done very well in Florida and other places. When it comes to Ohio and Kentucky, we will continue to lock them down. Let's go." And then, funny enough, somebody went and like screenshotted like the top Ohio and Kentucky recruits, and like, I mean, there's like one committed to Louisville or something. But yeah, Vince took offense to that. He was like, "You don't steal the guys that we want to go get." But I mean he couldn't say the name, but when Will Stein went on KSR and
Hmm.
talked about the recruiting about a kid that's 30 minutes away, I think if you know about the players that are in the state right now, you knew exactly who he was talking about with Seneca Driver right away,
Yeah.
a guy that Bama is going hard after. So Will Stein came in, and even before Nocta, he's going at it in this state. So I love that hire overall, and getting to steal somebody from the little brother. That's always fun too.
Yeah, it's always great to see. And then, of course, Kentucky football, they've added also a GM. They've added Pat Biondo,
I
I
think
guess.
it's Bionda.
Biondo,
Yeah, I
maybe,
think.
yeah. But he's coming from Oregon. He was at Oregon. He was the recruiting person from them. So Will Stein is recruiting or is stealing from his school that he was at as well. So we've got a GM as well. So that's great to hear because, of course, our previous GM was Eddie Grant and he wasn't doing the best, I feel like, at UK. But I feel like this will be much better where you actually hire somebody who is good, with the money and will be able to recruit players and figure out how much they can spend for a player as well. And who knows with JMI as well, because they're supposed to actually be, the group, the leader in negotiating stuff with players as well.
Yeah, I'm very, very glad that we have a GM, and I mean, it seems like he was a priority number one because he was on the flight when Will first got here. So that's exciting too. But just to have that, because like it's very, very necessary in the current world of college football to have a GM and have somebody that can kind of run those things, so it's not all on the head coach or not all on a guy like Eddie Grant that's not his expertise. So having Bionda, that's going to be awesome. And with those big programs like Oregon and like Ohio State and some of these other top teams, like it's a completely different world the way that they
Yeah.
run their programs and all that. Like they run it like it's a business, it's an NFL situation. And so getting a guy from there shifting over to Kentucky, it's going to only help the program overall.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And it's crazy to also think about Ohio State. They have their own airport at their university. Like, you never hear about that anywhere else. Like, the Ohio State University, they have their own airport at their own university. Insane to think about.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's wild. Like Ohio State is it's one of one. Well, they trademarked the for a reason.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, they definitely did that. And then, of course, we don't know for sure, but it's been reported that right now the rumor is that Justin Burke, he's going to come from UTSA. He's going to be the co-offensive coordinator for Will Stein and for UK. And then, of course, the main offensive coordinator will be trying to find his name. Blanking. There we go. I
Joe
found it.
Sloan.
Yeah, Joe Sloan. So right now for UK. So Joe Sloan from LSU, he's supposed to be the main offensive coordinator, and then Justin Burke is supposed to be the co-OC. And like I said, we don't know if that's true or not. We do know that Joe Sloan from LSU will be the offensive coordinator, but we're not for sure if Justin Burke is also coming to UK as well. It was reported a couple of days ago, but nothing official, I guess you could say.
Yeah, Joe Sloan is an interesting one because I mean LSU fans like laughed when it
Yeah.
happened. But I think the root of all of their problems, one, Brian Kelly. That I mean that's just in itself a problem. But two, the offensive line was atrocious, and they lost a lot to the NFL last year with LSU, and that was the root of everything. Caden Durham, as a freshman at LSU, was doing really well, was expected to get a lot of carries last year. They could never get the run game going. Run game was terrible all year. And then because of the pass game not being able to have the pass blocking that they needed, that's what resulted in them throwing a lot of screens. So that's what all these LSU fans are trying to tell Kentucky fans, saying like, get ready for screens, get ready for all this. I think if Will Stein makes the correct offensive line coach hire, we'll
Yeah,
be just fine. And if we're
yeah,
able to get those recruits and everything, like Will Stein, what like I told you before we started recording, like I'm at the point where if Will Stein wants them, I want them because
yeah.
like whatever he says, he's
So,
one of the best offensive minds in the entire country. He's going off of the mindset that Dan Lanning filled him with.
mhm.
I think it's going to be awesome. I know Joe Sloan doesn't have the best reputation across the sport, but he spent a lot of time with Louisiana Tech, with LSU. And he was also, if you want to talk about the bright spots of it, I mean, Garrett Nussmeier was really good 2 years ago. They had a
Yeah,
great offense. And then Jaden Daniels won Heisman with him as the QB coach. So
yeah.
overall, he's been around really, really great players. He's been around that state a lot. So I think that's a good hire. And then Justin Burke, I don't know a whole lot other than the fact that he is a Lex Cath guy, went to
Mhm.
Louisville, knows Stein really, really well. And I mean, they put up 48 on John Summerall this year. So that's a good little tidbit, too.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking a little bit more, I mean, I'm just glad that UK got rid of their offensive coordinator with Butch Hamden, and then, of course, like you said, the offensive line with Eric Wolford. I'm so glad they're both gone. Of course, I wish both of them luck. Wolford's at LSU now, and then, of course, Hamden, he still doesn't have a job yet, but I'm just happy both of them are gone because the offense was terrible with both of them. Like, there was no big blue wall under Wolford, and then of course, like the offense improved a lot towards the tail end of the year, other than Vandy and Louisville, but against Florida, Florida and Tennessee Tech, it definitely improved. But I'm glad they're both gone. But like I said, I wish them both the best of luck.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, best of luck to them, but I don't really know what LSU saw in Eric Wolford. Like he was never good here. That was Alabama's like worst year with offensive
Yeah.
line, the 1 year he was there, and they got rid of him very quick. So I don't really know what Lane Kiffin was seeing in him, but yeah, best of luck to him. And then I'm curious what happens to Bush Hamden, because who knows? I mean, he
Yeah.
could. I'm sure he'll land on his feet somewhere. I mean, he's been around the game for a little bit, but certainly not great memories offensively under
Yeah.
under Bush.
Definitely for sure. He's like Rich Scangarello. Like both people do not like Rich or him.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Red Zone Rich and Bush Hamden, they don't have the best reputation with Kentucky fans.
They definitely don't. But yeah, but let's talk a little bit more about Joe Sloan. Like you were mentioning, though, in his first season being the offensive coordinator, the LSU Tigers, they ranked number two in the SEC and number seven nationally in passing game, averaging 315 yards per game. And then, of course, you cannot forget about Garrett Nussmeier as well. He ranked fifth in the league and number 25 nationally with 431 and a half yards per game back in 2024. So under Joe Sloan, like overall they were great, in the 2024 season, but in 2025 they were awful, which led to also the firing of Brian Kelly and then of course Joe Sloan as well. But it'll be interesting to see, how he does. I feel like for Will Stein, I feel like he's bringing Will Stein because he wants to implement, Sloan's offense into the game plan. But then, of course, Will Stein is going to be the person calling the plays and everything. But I feel like he just likes Sloan's offensive weapons or like the game he has, and he wants to bring that to UK.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and it's just kind of one of those situations where, like, I mean, somebody had mentioned that Lane Kiffin technically has an OC. Charlie Weiss is with him, but Charlie Weiss isn't calling a whole lot of shots. It's still up to the main man, Lane Kiffin. And he's kind of the one that dictates everything that happens with the offense. So I think Will Stein overall is going to be, even though he said he's not necessarily going to be calling plays, he's still going to be part of the entire offensive unit, and he's going to be essentially behind all of that. But he said he wants to be a great head coach, and having two offensive minds like Justin Burke and Joe Sloan to help kind of take some weight off of him a little bit with their experience is going to be very, very helpful. So I'm excited to see what all of their meshing of their minds together ends up being.
Yeah, me too. And like I said, like you'll have three different offensive geniuses in that locker room at the same time. Like if UK isn't averaging at least 300 or 400 yards per game this upcoming year, I'll be highly surprised.
Yeah, no doubt. I am excited to see just what it looks like because I mean he's had some years where he's had teams that ran it a lot. He's had some that have been able to pass it a lot. So I'm very curious to see what it's going to look like. But I'm excited because
Mhm.
any offense is going to be great offense for us.
Yeah, and talking a little bit more about Will Stein, I actually didn't see this quote until now, but he said he will not call plays for Kentucky. He also added that he does not want to be a great play caller. I want to be a great head coach. So that is very interesting to hear because, he was so great at Oregon and makes you think, why doesn't he want to necessarily call plays at Kentucky? You're the head coach. Like, you had such a great offense at Oregon. Like, you can't transfer that to UK easily.
Yeah, no doubt. That's what I was referring to with when he said he wasn't wanting to call plays and um, really just be a great head coach overall. But yeah, I think he'll still be very, very in touch and
Yeah,
maybe he doesn't have the headset talking straight to the quarterback, but he's still going to be like
yeah,
the plays are still going to be filtered through Will Stein the entire time. So
yeah, for sure.
we'll still get his offensive mastermind
Yeah.
with us.
Yeah, and he said, I'm going to be heavily involved in the offense every step of the way, but just because I'm not reading off into the mic to our quarterback doesn't mean that I'm not meticulous about what plays are being called and when it's being called. So he's going to have some say in the offense, but he won't be the person that will be, calling the plays, designing the plays, probably.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited about it for sure.
Yeah, me too. And like I said, there were so many great quotes though that Stein had in his introductory press conference, and that's what really stood out to me whenever he had his introductory press conference. I'm trying to pull some stuff up. He said, "There's no reason why we can't be successful here. Zero. The goal is to win now, not 5 years from today." And that really stood out to me because UK, they are in the SEC, yeah. We're like one of the lower teams in the totem pole, but you can still be great in the SEC if you have the right team around a great head coach as well.
Yeah, for sure. And he mentioned on why he's mentioned it a few different occasions, but the one that comes to mind is he had an interview with Tom Leach. This was not at the press conference, but um, he was doing that interview with Tom Leach, and he said, or it might have been Keith Farmer, I don't remember, but he was like, whenever I'd gone out to Oregon, there was like one thing that I always checked off because knowing that we could like went out there, do all these different things, I knew there'd be an opportunity at some point to come home and be the head coach at UK. And I've always been talking about like what could happen, what they could do, and I'm ready to stop talking about what it could be and actually get some stuff done and win some games here and stuff. So he's had the quotes to have you ready to run through a wall. I mean, he's talked about how this place can win and win very, very big. And it's not win, like you said, five years down the road, it's right away. So it's been awesome to hear his press conference and everything so far. And I'm sure we'll talk about a few of these other quotes, but he had all the quotes rambled off and they weren't scripted because a lot of them were answers to questions too. So
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he only basically talked for maybe like 10 minutes and then he answered questions for like 20 minutes after that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He answered a whole lot of questions for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I think another thing that stood out to me was Will Stein said he wants Cutter Boley back at Kentucky because, there were rumors that he could potentially transfer with Will Stein coming to UK and bringing in a quarterback, which I do believe he'll probably try and bring in a different quarterback. There's been a rumor with the Cal quarterback. We can talk about that in a little bit, but let's focus on Cutter Boley. He said, 100%, I want all these guys to be part of the program. If you turn on the tape, there's some elite characteristics from a lot of guys on the squad. I think we just got to continue to push them and continue to create accountability within the team and toughness and be great in all three phases. And that's great to hear that, he wants Bowley back at UK and hopefully he doesn't transfer in. Who knows, maybe with Will Stein, Bowley could go to another level, like step up his game, or, he could become the backup if Stein gets another quarterback.
Yeah, I do expect him to bring another quarterback over, and I think overall, I think he wants Cutter around just because these in-state guys are very, very important. And then obviously Cutter has shown flashes of being an elite college quarterback, and um, but it is cool just to see that he's like all in on the guys that were here last year, where you could look at turn the film on and you see some good things. So it is cool. But I do expect him to bring Austin Novosad with him. That's just like I've talked to a lot of Oregon people just like the past few days and stuff, and everybody's like expecting that. I don't know if it's just like Novosad committed there just for Stein or something, but that one, and then you mentioned the Cal quarterback with
Yeah.
Jerron Kiave Sungapowatelli.
You got his name right. I didn't know how to pronounce it. Yeah, Jerome.
Yeah, hey, I
Yeah,
just got his name right because I'm a massive, massive fan, and I have been all year. So it would be a
yeah.
complete circle for me.
Yeah, I mean, for him, he went 3,100 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Of course, you wish you could turn down those interceptions a little bit and have a few more touchdowns on the season.
Yeah, hey, that kid can absolutely go. Like as a freshman, he did not look like a freshman out there. Like at times, he was really, really good. Not a ton of weapons, obviously, out there at California. So I'm excited about it, though. I've already seen Cal fans being like, "There's no way. Like if he was to go to Kentucky of all places, I'll do this or something." Like they're already like making bets, or like he's not going to leave. Um, but he has the connection with Stein, so maybe there is a chance though.
Yeah, maybe there is a chance. And like I said, Will Stein, though, like he was insane during the press conference. He was talking about like with UK's defense, he wants a bend don't break defense where like he doesn't want to bend don't break, and he basically wants a team where, like where Oregon put up so many numbers. He wants a defensive team that can stop what he was doing at Oregon with his offense, basically.
Yeah, the one thing that I do like about that is like those offensive minded guys, especially they like defenses that take gambles and they take risk and stuff. And that's exactly what he was talking about, where he doesn't want to bend, don't break. He wants a turn the ball over, or we're just in a shootout. Like if our defense isn't able to get those stops, make those gambles worth it, then maybe we're just in a shootout. But that's fine because those coaches live for those. So it's going to be completely different. Where with Brad White, yes, he was one of the best offensive or defensive coordinators in the entire country, but he also
Mhm.
how many third downs did we see where we were sitting 15 yards off of them and they just got a first down off of that alone? Like there's not going to be a whole lot of that this year. There's going to be a lot of blitz, a lot of just getting after the quarterback, a lot of edge rushers, and it's going to be fun too because I think a lot of guys will enjoy playing in that because there's a lot of gambles. You can have a lot of interceptions, you can have a lot of sacks in these type defenses, so it's going to be fun overall.
Yeah, yeah, and then another quote that stood out to me was whenever he said, "Success is not free, rent is due every day that we are here." And that was a great quote, basically saying you have to earn your spot every day. Like you can't come in here saying, "I'm going to be the starter. We're going to defeat, like Tennessee Tech for an example." No, you have to earn it every single day that we are the best team. You've got to prove it and go out there and win.
Yeah, I love that quote. I mean, that's one of the quotes that I can see just thrown on a T-shirt and sold in mass numbers for sure. Like that one, that quote is amazing. That was one of my favorites from the entire press conference. But it is true. Like you got to show up and show out every single day, or you're going to lose your spot. And yeah, it's not going to be easy, but he's going to make it to where it's worth it in the end.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I'm very excited about Will Stein. And like I said, it's going to be very interesting. And UK, they have a tough schedule. And I keep saying that UK is going to have the best 6-6 team this upcoming year with the best offense ever. And like I said, we'll, of course, come, August or whenever that might be, we'll definitely have a preview for the 2026 season. But like, UK's offense, I feel like it's going to be insane and easily could be one of the best 6-6 teams in the country next year.
Dude, yeah, no doubt. I saw a like neutral fan on a podcast or something, and they were like, "Man, I mean, he's going to go 2-10 next year." And I was like, "All right, I mean, he's not going to go 2-10, but there's a whole lot of tough games on there because like the schedule isn't completely out, so we don't know how these games line up and stuff. But you have Louisville, Alabama, Florida, LSU, and Vandy at home, and then at Missouri, at Oklahoma, at South Carolina, at Tennessee, at Texas A&M. That's just ridiculous how hard
Uh,
that is. That's crazy."
It is crazy for sure, and like I said, it's going to be just interesting to see. But for Will Stein, he promises that he's going to bring an exciting brand of football that will light up the scoreboard for Kentucky. That was another quote that stood out to me, and like I said, I'm very interested to see, what Will Stein does in his first year. I would love to see, UK averaging like 30 plus a game. Like we never really saw that under Mark Stoops. I don't know what the highest scoring we had in a season. I feel like it was probably like maybe 27, 28 at max. But if we can get into the 30s, every game, I feel confident.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I mean, even in those losses, that'd be fun at least if you're putting up a lot of points. But I didn't know if you wanted to pivot off of it. I had three more quotes that you hadn't brought up from it that I could mention. So he had said, I don't have these exactly, but this is just from my memory. He had the one quote where he had said, you have to recruit every single day.
Yeah,
Recruiting is like shaving. If the more or the longer you don't shave or something, if
yeah,
you don't shave, you begin to look like crap. If you don't recruit, you begin to look like crap. So I loved that quote. Me as a former quarterback, any quarterback quotes I absolutely love. And Nick Roush asked the question about his quarterbacks. That full answer, if you didn't see it, go look it up. I mean, that the full answer was amazing. But I thought it was awesome how he said that quarterback. There's a lot of intangibles. There's a lot of like measurables that have to match up, but he also has to be the toughest MFer on the field. And that
yeah,
was his exact quote. He was like, he's got to be tough mentally, physically, all that stuff. So I thought him just saying MFer was like, okay,
yeah,
yeah, he definitely played for Bobby Petrino. Like that was the
yeah,
one thing, that was the one big takeaway for that. And then the adaptability. That was the one thing where a lot of times with this university, with when it was John Calipari and Mark Stoops, it felt like we are stuck in the old times. He had mentioned that like if you complain about all the old times, you're just gonna get left behind, whatever. Like you can keep saying you want it to be like the old days, you wish it was how it used to be or something, and that's gonna get you nowhere because it's
yeah,
not gonna be like the old ways. So being able to adapt and change with the times, that's very, very important. So I love that he said that.
yeah,
And those three quotes were really the three that you hadn't mentioned that I was like, all right,
yeah.
I want to mention these
Got caught.
before we
Got
move
caught.
on. But he had a lot of them. I mean, the
Yeah.
quotes were endless at that.
Yeah, he had so many quotes, and it felt like he was calling out me and Keith Farmer with the shaving quote because I haven't shaved in a little bit. I honestly need a haircut, and I need to shave definitely this weekend. That's the goal. Come Saturday, get a haircut, get all shaved, and everything look great this weekend because there's no Kentucky football on this weekend, so might as well get that fresh cut and look great, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Do your recruiting.
Yeah, do my recruiting. Yeah. Hey, maybe I'll look as great as you, man, because you got that good old button up and tie on.
Hey, man, you got to do what you got to do with coaching. Sometimes it's not always my favorite fit, but I'll throw it on if I got to.
Yeah. Hey, I've been dressing up more at work because thankful my girlfriend's mom, she helped me to buy some clothes, so I've been dressing up a little bit more at work.
Hey, that's clutch. I mean, dressing up from time to time is good, dude. It's
Yeah.
kind of fun, and you just get to feel a little nice and throw some nice kicks on, throw the khakis, slacks, whatever it is. But yeah, dressing up's good every now and then.
Yeah, for sure. There was one other thing that I wanted to point out. Basically, KSR, they asked Will Stein about the rivalry between UK and Louisville, and he basically said that he will throw else down if he has to, because of course he was a UK fan growing up, but sadly, UK never recruited him to play football. He ended up at Louisville instead. And, he was a Louisville fan through and through during his college days afterwards as well. But now he's at UK and, he will actually throw the L's down if he has to though.
Yeah, I did love that quote. And he talked about wanting to be able to get an opportunity to play at Kentucky, and he was like, obviously, I would have taken it, but that didn't happen. And it's cool just to see how he took gambles on himself, but he also talked about how everything lined up for a reason. Like he didn't get offered by Joker. He didn't have the opportunity to come play at his favorite school, so he stayed home, went to Louisville. But that's where he met all the guys with who he met. So he ended up meeting Charlie Strong while he's there. Then he goes to Texas with Charlie, and then at
Yeah.
Texas he also meets Jeff Traylor, who goes to UTSA. So he gets hired by UTSA. Then he goes to Oregon, and it all just ends up working out perfectly. So it was cool to see him kind of talk about how yes, he enjoyed his time at Louisville, but it's also the reason that got him back here. So
Here.
he's very,
Yeah.
very thankful for that. But it was cool overall just to see him talk about his full path. But he took the big time gamble in between Texas and UTSA
And
going to Lake Travis.
yeah.
That was super cool to see.
Yeah, just taking that gamble. He was actually trying to go to St. X at that time, but St. X was like, you don't have the experience enough to come, back here. So I was surprised that, St. X rejected him and he went instead to Lake Travis in Texas instead.
Wait, is St. X like Louisville?
Yeah, St. X in Louisville.
Man, I mean, that's kind of crazy because St. X, well, I guess at that time, I mean, that was when like Desmond Ritter would have been at St. X, I guess. Or no, I guess that would have been a little after. But like, I don't know. It seems crazy that St. X would turn him down. It had to be the Trinity thing. It had to be because like
Yeah.
St. X, I mean, they're good, but like
I'm
they're
pretty
not.
sure I'm pretty sure it was St. X. I would have to look back where I saw it, but I'm pretty sure it was them.
It had to be the Trinity ties because they. I mean, they don't mesh well, Trinity and St. X. But I mean, that seems crazy to turn it down. I didn't see that
Yeah.
that had happened. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it after the podcast to make sure that was true, but I'm pretty sure I read that from somewhere or somebody where that was true, where Saint X didn't even offer him a job whenever he was trying to go there.
That's wild. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I see it. It said statement that Saint X Saint X turns down Will Stein refers to a narrative in local Kentucky sports circles, but the reality is that uh it basically it says that aspect likely stems from his local ties and career path before taking the UK job. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy to think about.
Man, Saint X, I mean what a fumble right there.
I know back in 2018 too, like,
Dude, yeah, that's a wild time
yeah,
to turn that down for
who
sure.
knows? Maybe he would be at Louisville instead right now, being like their OC instead, if that had happened.
Yeah. I mean, he could be. He could be in a completely different position if Saint X doesn't turn that down. But I mean
Yeah,
that's wild. But he went to the state with the best high school football. So I mean, I guess
yeah.
it ended up working out for him.
Yep, it always works out no matter what.
Yeah, no doubt. It definitely worked out for him, and it worked out for us because we're glad he's here.
Yeah, sometimes you've got to take the risk. But I want to transition a little bit. I want to talk now about Mitch Barnhart, and basically he got asked about NIL, and he got so upset with the question from John Hale from the Lexington Herald Leader. But basically he said enough about have we got enough? We've got enough, and he basically said we've got to do it the right way. We are not going to break the rules. That's flat out. At the end of the day, the coach is going to put in that program who he wants to put in that program, period. And, it really made me annoyed whenever, Mitch Barnhart got upset because he turned basically all the NIL deals into JMI. And of course, everybody's against JMI doing these NIL deals for the program and everything. And of course, Mark Stoops, before that, he was always complaining about not having enough money or anything, but he was like, I feel better, I feel confident with the revenue sharing era, and hopefully Will Stein feels the same way because you've got to have money now to be able to compete in any sport now, sadly because of NIL. But that really made me upset with Mitch Barnhart. I'm like, answer the question better, like figure out. How we can actually get more money and get actually recruits to the university and get better recruits overall too.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to feed the studs without having studs, and that's going to take NIL money and a lot of buy-in and stuff. And the whole JMI situation has been very, very like weird and unpopular, I would say. But I don't know like a whole lot about it in the grand scheme of things, so I don't ever want to mention too much on it. But like it does seem like it's hurting. We haven't landed a basketball recruit. I mean, and Mitch getting mad about it, I was like, what in the like? I mean, this man just asked a question. Like, I don't understand like why you want to snap like that. It was just and the thing that like I was kind of worried about. I was like, I mean, you're saying we have enough. Like, you need to have more than enough. Like, it's having enough is not the standard that we're gonna need. Like, we're gonna need more than that. The whole situation, the whole reacting to that, especially on a day like that too, because it felt like that day was perfect. I mean, obviously the game ended up being pretty bad that night, but overall it was like a perfect day. It was like, oh yeah, this is pretty sweet. I mean, um everything's awesome. Will Stein's getting introduced. It's like a full reunion. Everybody's here. But then Mitch snaps out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He's like, I've answered this 19 times in 19 different ways or whatever. And I'm tired of it or whatever. And like, all right, man. I mean, I just don't understand why he's gonna snap at a point like that. But it's just like people ask the questions because they're curious because they don't know.
Yeah.
They ask the questions, then you snap on them. It's just like it doesn't benefit anything by getting aggravated about the question.
I agree with you on that. And like I said, I just want to be able to get recruits in. I feel like for basketball, it's not necessarily about NIL really ruining for basketball, not talking a lot about it, but I feel like for basketball, it's not really about money right now. It's more just Mark Pope. He likes to play, a 10-man rotation. And, with that, recruits, they don't like that. They want to be able to average 30 minutes a game, 30 plus minutes a game. And sadly, Mark Pope doesn't want to do that. And, the recruits, they want to be that star impact player. And I guarantee they don't feel like they can do that under Mark Pope if only playing 20 to 25 minutes a game.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it, but I think part of it is the NIL thing because like also today we saw they come out with Christian Collins, and that had been weeks of them trying to figure out an NIL situation to get him here. Like that should have been done weeks ago, but we have
Yeah,
this entire
correct.
situation, and it's kind of stalling this whole thing. And I mean, if it waits too long, these California schools will be ready to toss a bag at some of these kids, and we've seen it happen in the past, and it will definitely happen with Christian Collins if we're not careful, trying to get him landed here soon. But overall, it's just been. I mean, we were behind with it initially, just kind of getting up to the speed with NIL, and now we're in the point where we've got to catch up fully because like there's no reason Christian Collins shouldn't be a Wildcat already. Like Mark Pope adaptability, like what Stein said, you've got to just play these kids a lot. I mean that's the reason Caleb Wilson didn't come here too. Like it's just not gonna work recruiting kids like that, and then the NIL situation just got to get figured out as well too. So
Yeah, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
we're in a weird spot.
Yeah, we are definitely in a weird spot, but enough talking about necessarily like NIL and everything. I want to get into National Signing Day a little bit. The first commitment that we got was Matt Ponatowski, and it was crazy because he wasn't going to sign until February under Mark Stoops, but everything changed whenever Will Stein became the head coach, and it made me wonder, was really Matt Ponatowski really committed to the Kentucky football program under Mark Stoops, or was he really more committed to Kentucky to play basketball, or not basketball, baseball, with Nick Mingione instead? So I feel like now with Will Stein, he has more of a commitment now to Kentucky football. Maybe he still probably has more of a commitment to baseball, but it feels more that he is committed to football than previously with Mark Stoops.
Yeah, for sure. He definitely made it obvious very, very soon where he said, man, I can get down with this or I can work with this or whatever. And then it was initially everybody was like, oh no, he's pushing off his signing date or whatever. And once Stoops got fired, maybe we just won't be able to land him now. And then he was like, oh, I was never going to sign this early. I was always going to sign in the spring, whatever. And then I mean, signing day, he's like, "Wow, wait, I'm doing it
Yeah.
now." So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool to see him kind of take command and be the first one. And being, I mean, the big fish being the first one to sign is pretty sweet.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to talk about a few other commitments that we got, signees that I talked to. I talked to Ben Duncombe, the four-star edge from Lake Travis. He said, it feels great and I'm ready to come up and get to work. Three-star defensive back Isaiah McMillan said, it's a blessing. I had a quick phone call with Will Stein and he gave me a small blueprint of what we are going to do with him as head coach. I'm ready to bring Kentucky football back to life. And that quote stood out to me. I'm ready to bring Kentucky football back to life. And I feel like, maybe not this year's class, but like 2 years down the line with this year's class, they can actually bring the program back to life and we can get back to the 8, 9, 10 win seasons that we had under Mark Stoops.
Yeah, I mean, this class is what it starts with too, and I mean, it all starts now. The transfer portal more than ever it makes a massive impact, but the high school recruits, these guys are the ones that build the foundation of what is to come. So, having those type of quotes from the recruits is amazing and can only get you fired up. Like
Yeah.
it makes you excited about what the future can be.
Yeah, and then there were two other signings that I talked to. Three-star linebacker Justin Hartley. He said, it feels great. I feel confident in my ability to give this program everything I have and looking forward to learn more and more about BBN. And then finally, Dale, I think it's still Vecchio Austin the second. He's a three-star running back. He said, "Man, it feels unreal. This is something I've dreamed about forever, and to finally sign with Kentucky means everything." So those were a couple of the signings that I talked to, and I'm just excited to see what they can do. Of course, not a lot of true freshmen get playing time, but in like 2 years down the road, like hopefully they can actually get some playing time, and this year's class will look great come 28, 29.
Yeah, for sure. Well, once these guys get in the program and get with Coach Stein and his staff and everything, and they get kind of molded into what they're going to be, it's going to be super, super awesome. So, all those quotes and everything about these guys getting fired up, it can only get you fired up about. I mean, football season's far away, but
Yeah.
you got you excited for it.
Yeah, some fans are more excited for football season than they are currently with basketball, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because it was like once we had lost a couple in football, I was like, all right, well, basketball season. I mean, we have the great roster and everything. We're gonna be awesome in basketball, and then now it's flipped because our basketball's been down, and we have all this excitement with the football team. So, yeah, it's almost flipped for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm looking back at the score from the Lions Cowboys game, 44-30. High scoring football game. Like I've never seen it that high scoring in a long time.
That is a high scoring game. I don't know what the over under was, but I would say that definitely
They
hit
killed it
because it.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, probably over under was probably like, I don't know, 45 and a half, 48, something like that. Probably mid 40s, high 40s, I feel like.
Yeah, probably so. I was trying to see if I could find real quick, but I don't know.
Yeah. But do you have anything else you want to add to the podcast before we wrap it up?
I do want to just speaking on the Chinese a little bit. Denarius Gray is going to be a problem here.
Yeah.
That's kind of the one. I mean, if you just look at, I remember whenever he committed, looking at the guys that had offered him, there's going to be a problem. And those South Florida receivers, they're dangerous. So, Denarius Gray, that's my one for the class of 2026, where I'm just like, yeah, we'll take that. And then, I mean, Kenny Darby, you mentioned
Yeah.
what he commits tomorrow.
Yeah, he commits tomorrow, and there's a lot of confidence around the UK football program that they can land him, and hopefully that's true.
Yes, hopefully that's true. And not to be negative Nancy here, but I was looking at the crystal ball just to see what it says. It says 100% Mississippi State. And I mean, being that Shreveport area, I think I don't know how you pronounce it, maybe Bossier City, Louisiana, that northwest part. There's some ties there between Mississippi State and stuff. I think Dak was from that area. Hopefully that's wrong.
Yeah,
But the one thing, this doesn't matter at all, but it has indicated some things in the past. If you go to his Instagram, look at who he follows Kentucky.
yeah,
He also follows LSU, the school he decommitted from, and he follows Colorado. Those are the only football pages that I see that he follows. So hopefully he commits to UK out of those, and because I mean he's special. He would
yeah.
be awesome here.
Yeah, he definitely would be awesome. Just to talk about it, Kentucky, they signed 13 players on National Signing Day, early National Signing Day for them, and hopefully UK can add one more player to that list with Kenny Darby. It'll be interesting to see because L. Damian Washington, he tweeted out, it was, I believe, late last night, that there would be more good news come Friday, and then since then he has deleted that tweet, so that either means Will Stein probably told him to delete the tweet, or two, UK isn't getting Kenny Darby at all.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those two. And I'm hoping it's more of the Will Stein was like, "Hey man, cut it out." I'm hoping that was it. But I mean, Washington's killed it here as a coach, and he's gotten some good receivers rolling for him. So I'm hoping we can get him. That'd be an awesome surprise. Going, I mean, going while we're in the signing period and everything, that'd be a pretty sweet pickup.
Yeah, it definitely would be. And like I said, I just want UK to hit the transfer portal hard, and I believe they will. And I feel like they're going to bring in another quarterback. They're going to bring in a lot of wide receivers, of course, but it'll be interesting to see, who Stein brings in at least with the roster, because the coaching staff is mainly set for the most part. Still waiting to figure out the defensive coordinator, right?
Yes, yeah, and it seems like Charlie Strong
It's the
is kind
name.
of the
Yeah.
yeah, he's been the name to watch, but yeah, I mean it'd be wild to see him here, but I mean if that's that's the
Mhm.
man for the job, then
Yeah.
I guess let's get him. But I am excited for the transfer portal though. It's gonna be fun to follow. I don't remember how the full schedule lines up, but I know so they'll play the first game because they don't have a bye for Oregon, so they'll play that game. They'll probably play a bad team because there's a lot of situations there where bad teams are getting in, whatever. Uh, and then they'll play one more, and I think if they win that one, then it gets into the portal window, which would kind of shake some things up a little bit. I mean, it wouldn't make it impossible, but he'd be spending some late night hours, maybe on some calls and stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, he's bought in for it. He said, I don't remember his exact quote, but it was like basically saying that there's nothing. Yeah, I think he said like there's nothing balanced about this job, and there's like it's never balanced. So, kind of juggling with the Oregon game planning and everything right now, and then doing the full thing with UK. It's been a lot on him, but
Yeah.
he's killing it though.
Yeah, he's definitely killing it. And the transfer portal window runs from January 2nd to January 16th. So 15 days. So it runs during that time period.
You said it was the second to win.
The 16th.
Okay, I was gonna look up the playoff schedule. Yeah, the first round games are the 19th and 20th of December, and then the quarterfinals are the 31st and 1st. So yeah, if they win their second game, then they'll be playing into the portal window, which those games are the 8th and the 9th, and then the championship is the 19th.
So dang. So basically, if Oregon wins their first two rounds and they get to the semifinals and the finals, then Will Stein will be, being the OC plus recruiting players to Kentucky. Insane to think about.
Yeah, that is crazy. And as of right now, which obviously it can change with this next week, but as of right now, they're projected to play a G5 team. Ironically, Tulane is their matchup right now, so it'd be Will Stein versus John Sumrall, which would be just funny. But then they would play Texas Tech, which is also a very winnable game for them. So I'm hoping that maybe some things shift around and
Yeah.
maybe they lose early. Like I don't like to see him go win it, but at the same time, I do want him to be able to fully get his class prepared and stuff. Because I don't want him to absolutely go crazy trying to balance everything.
Yeah, same here. Like I said, he'll definitely figure it out. I mean, Dan Lanning figured it out whenever he was the Georgia DC and ended up being the Oregon head coach.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's got one of the best mentors in the country, helping him out because he's been through it, like you mentioned, being the DC and trying to prep for Oregon and everything while doing it. So, he's got a good guy to look up to and ask questions about. But it's definitely a wild situation to find yourself in for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I feel like he's going to rely a lot on Dan Lanning in the future. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, you have to rely sometimes on your mentors, and I feel like he's going to definitely get some help during his time whenever he's the head coach at UKM. He'll definitely ask Dan Lanning for some tips if he needs some help.
Yeah, and I love Dan Lanning so much, so I'm excited about that because he's a football guy to say the
Yeah.
least. I mean, he's fired up about it, and I know people joke on him saying that he looks like sometimes that he's on like crack or something. But I mean, you need that in one of those in some of those coaches. So
Yeah.
it is cool that he'll always have Dan Lanning to point back to and talk to.
Yeah, for sure. But do you have anything else you want to add to this podcast before we end it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we need Kenny Darby to be a cat. That's my
Yeah.
final statement.
Yeah, hopefully that happens by the time we upload this podcast. But two episodes will be uploaded, one in the morning for basketball, and then another podcast later in the evening before UK faces off against Gonzaga. But we'll have a football podcast also uploaded later on Friday as well.
Yep, yep. Got two of them
Yeah.
for you special people that choose to view all of our stuff. We're very appreciative of it.
Hey, we got a lot of views on our latest podcast, like over 400 views on YouTube. So thank you all for watching our videos and everything. We appreciate it so much.
Yep, yep. Thank you all very much for anybody that's consistent and clicking on all our stuff and staying tuned in with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, but I guess we'll wrap this podcast up. But we appreciate you all watching on YouTube and, of course, listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But this is Chris Beesmore and
And Cameron Waddle.
signing out. Have a great weekend, everybody.